Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show once again. We march closer to another college football weekend. Utah taking on the Mustangs of Cal Poly. We're not going to spend as much time breaking down the opponent this week as we will in typical weeks because it's the Mustangs of Cal Poly. I did take a gander at the Big Sky preseason poll, and for those who have not already looked at this, Cal Poly was picked by coaches and the media to finish 11th out of 12 in the Big Sky Conference.
Shoot.
To put some context on that, Portland State, who was just horrific last week against BYU, was picked 10th.
Oh.
So
it should be 70-something points on.
If you care about the transitive property here, then absolutely.
And a shutout can't be giving up points.
Got to be a shutout. You have to give up no more than -5 rushing yards, and you absolutely
give up
have to score
10.
70. Got to score at least 70. 51 total yards of offense for Portland State against BYU. You got to do better than that.
And
Utah,
and something to look forward to on the day of the Holy War. Weber State plays.
Don't do this. Sean O'Connell Show is brought to you today and every day by our friends at Big Willie's. Lunch specials going on all week long, and of course, the great place, the best place outside of Rice-Eccles Stadium to watch the game is at Big Willie's. Take advantage of the delicious craft food menu. They throw a big old plate in front of you where the main dish is excellent, and then the side dish is also good enough to be a main dish. All right? They understand the value of a good hearty meal down at Big Willie's. They'll have the TVs tuned in to Utah, Cal Poly, and any other college football game you want to watch as we head into week 2. Tell them OC sent you at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main Street, right in the heart of Salt Lake City. All right. The NFL season kicks off tonight. Big matchups, big games, big players, big brands. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, a divisional matchup right off the top. You've got a strange sort of brand dominance going on right now in the NFL, where we talk so often about, in the NBA wants the New York teams to be great. The NFL wants the LA and New York teams to be great. Look, the Dallas Cowboys have been dominating headlines as of late, not for the right reasons. Philly is obviously a huge sports market, so the NFL probably loves that Philadelphia is kind of front and center. And, of course, Kansas City has been carrying the torch as the dynasty of the day, sort of recent NFL football. And that's not exactly a bustling metropolis. The thing about the NFL is it's sort of what happens in the NFL sort of flies in the face of traditional rules and conventional thinking on brand awareness and large market teams and things like that, because you have Kansas City and the entire country has Kansas City fans now because players make you fans and people like the story of Andy Reid. And Philadelphia is its own animal. The L.A. market has proved now with that beautiful stadium and 2 teams in there that it's actually sort of a transient population. Anytime you go to a Chargers game and Kansas City's going to be at SoFi playing the Chargers, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to have 55% of that building wearing red. Chiefs fans. It's a very odd thing. When the Green Bay Packers are good, they're a national brand. That is the ultimate small market team.
Yeah, like easily the smallest market in all of professional sports.
It's a minuscule market. It's not even a market. It's tiny. Like, even if you go to the biggest, if you're like, all right, well, what about Milwaukee, the big city in Wisconsin? It's still not like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, and it's not that close to Milwaukee, right? It's still a couple hours away. Like, people, they they often try to lump the Milwaukee market into Green Bay because it is the biggest market. It's like small town Utah being in the Salt Lake City market, but it's like they're hours away.
Cedar
right?
City is the Salt Lake City market.
St. George is technically Salt Lake City market, even though that's 4 or 5 hours away, right? Like so it's it's nowhere near even the biggest market in the area.
And Milwaukee, even if you wanted to really like link it to Milwaukee, Milwaukee is the 38th largest media market in the country. Milwaukee is below Salt Lake City. Milwaukee is after Greenville, Spartanburg, Asheville, and Anderson, South Carolina.
I've heard of all of those places.
Yes.
Definitely.
Milwaukee looks up at Hartford and New Haven, Connecticut in the media market rankings. So the NFL, I bring this up on the show today to remind us that, and maybe just to remind myself, that all of this media market conversation that has become part of the American sports fan awareness and lexicon because of realignment in college sports is actually kind of made up and stupid. And I guess there's probably some revenue numbers that people find a formula they can link together. But if you have successful teams, if you win, it doesn't matter how many large buildings and television sets are in your market. The University of Alabama is a perfect example of that. The Green Bay Packers are a perfect example of that. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, the LA Rams and the LA Chargers are are a perfect example of that. When the Chargers were in San Diego, they were poorly supported. Now that they're in LA, it's even worse.
Wasn't it better in San Diego though? Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, it was better in San Diego, but it still wasn't good in San Diego.
Yeah.
I remember that disastrous Pac-12 outing where Utah played USC at the Coliseum. It was before they had broken the curse, but it was Britton Covey's freshman year. It was the 3-interception Cam Smith game. The freshman linebacker for USC was just destroying everything.
Yeah.
It was a bad day, right? We went down, we watched that game. I was with shout out to my good buddy and old teammate, Amin Shaheen. Love you. We road tripped it down there, okay? And the Chargers were playing the next day. They were playing against the Raiders the next day. We're like, oh, we'll go from the USC game where Utah will surely win, and then we'll go watch Weddle, and Manti Te'o was on the team at the time, and I'm a big Manti Te'o fan, and I was like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. We'll drive down. We'll watch that USC win for Utah, and then we'll take another 2-hour drive, go down to San Diego. We'll watch the Chargers beat up on a divisional rival, Weddle, Te'o. It'll be great. Utah gets demolished that weekend, and then we drive down to the Charger game. We get there 3 hours before kickoff. The off-ramp is so congested and terrible, and the parking situation is so bad that we're walking into the stadium at the end of the first quarter. And because it was a Raiders game, security had to be beefed up to accommodate the degenerate Raider fans, and I'm talking to all of you out there. Security had to be beefed up so that there was just every gate you were trying to get into was this incredibly long line with like TSA level security. So we did not get into the game until the end of the first quarter. Couldn't be any more disastrous. That story is only brought up to prove to you that even in San Diego, it was like 60-40 Raider fans, to the point where the stadium itself, the stadium staff knows, like, hey, this is actually going to be a Raider game. So we have to beef up the security to make sure everyone stays safe. And it delays everything, and it's terrible. So to get back to the main point, as we kick off an NFL season, the NFL is a great reminder that if you have an excellent product, people will find that product, and they don't care where it's based. They don't care where it's at. The NFL is a wonderful example of when we do this thing where it's like, oh, a Pittsburgh versus Arizona Super Bowl is not what the NFL wants. And guess what? That Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl ended up being one of the best ones of our lifetime.
That's the thing, though. We don't hear enough of that. I'm not going to say we don't. I'm not going to phrase it like that. It's refreshing that that we don't really hear those kind of nonsense storylines for Super Bowls like we do, like a Suns, and they don't have a team. There's not an NBA team in Pittsburgh, so a Suns Cavs NBA Finals is bad for the NBA. We hear that all the time. But NFL, it's like especially if it's the Steelers, they're like the Packers and the Cowboys, like they're pillars of NFL history. Like, oh yeah, that's great. But even if it were Cardinals, Jaguars, Cardinals, we probably still wouldn't hear that much of that. We'd probably hear a little bit. That's never happened.
If the Jags are going to be involved, then yeah, it's going to.
That's probably a bad example. But like Texans, Cardinals, you wouldn't be like. You're going to be like, oh, this is bad for the NFL.
It's because when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to football, but especially NFL football, people care about the game. They care about the game more than they care about the brands. Does the NFL like it better? Do fans like it better? Are there more storylines?
ESPN certainly likes it better when the brands are involved.
If it's Dallas and if it's San Francisco and if it's, this version of Philadelphia, yeah, they would rather have that than the Minnesota Vikings, but it's not important. And it was on my mind as I was previewing the games tonight and what's going on with the NFL, and I was just like, you know what? It feels good to know that while so much of the narrative in college football is driven by brand dominance and the Big Ten and the SEC, in the NFL, we have decided, and the hard salary cap has supported this, that we're just going to let the game carry itself. And I think that's why the NFL is the most popular thing in American sports. I think a hard salary cap would benefit every other sport as well. I think that if you had a real hard salary cap in college football, I say this from a selfish perspective because it certainly would help Utah and it would help BYU and it would help Utah State. A hard salary cap in college football would increase the parity in college football, and you would get more of what you have in the NFL right now, where the teams that draft and develop well have their time in the sun, and then because the NFL is cyclical and it's a physical game and teams experience attrition, and because free agency is a thing, nobody gets to be on top of the heap for a decade. And when that does happen, we talk about it as the greatest coach in the history of the game, the greatest quarterback in the history of the game. And it's not about, well, it's because they had the largest. It's because our bank account is. It's about the game. That's why we love football so much. That's why we love NFL football so much, because it's about the game itself. Yeah, stars develop. Yes, it's better to be a star in Los Angeles than it is to be a star in Cincinnati. But you care more about the Cincinnati quarterback right now than you do the quarterbacks in Los Angeles, because you care about the game when it comes to NFL football. The game is the story. So,
I mean, another micro market is Buffalo, and Buffalo is one of the most popular teams in the NFL right now. And Josh Allen's one of the most popular quarterbacks in the NFL because they're awesome. Not you. You don't like them.
I don't like the Bills,
but but they've become a really popular team because they've been awesome lately. It's Buffalo, New York. There's no reason for that other than the team and the game, like you said, for the Bills to be popular right now.
I mean, it's the same in Baltimore, although Baltimore is a large metro. Baltimore is not the kind of city that people are just like, oh, let's go to Baltimore to catch a game, and we'll have a Broadway show and things like that. The game carries the story, and the players, who are, of course, the perpetrators of the game, they are the progenitors of the game. They're the beneficiaries of that. You can be a megastar playing in Green Bay. You can be a megastar playing in Buffalo. You can be a megastar playing in Baltimore. And maybe there's a marginal difference if you're that great and you're in the Dallas Cowboys uniform or you're in a New York Jets uniform, but it's been so long for us that we don't remember what that looks like. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. Ahead of, I'm going to do what I asked you to do in the college football world. Ahead of the season starting tonight, Dallas, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Chargers. Which one of those games are we going to have?
On Sunday? Or
we don't have any tonight.
No. Sorry, we have Dallas, Philly tonight.
Dallas, Philly tonight on the ESPN 700.
We also
airwaves.
have the Brazil game, Chargers, Chiefs tomorrow, and then we've got Sunday night football. I'll double check what that one is, but we have those 3 games on this week in the opening week of college football. We even, I believe, have a 10 a.m. game. Because ESPN Radio, those are Westwood 1 games. Those other ones, ESPN Radio also gives you a 10 a.m. game. So I'll double check what those are. But we've got a ton of football. The Fan, our sibling station, is your home of the Rams. So we have the Rams game. I believe that's a 2:30 kick. Their season opener. So ton of football across the network.
Who's going to win it all? Send me at Real OC Sports or 877-353-0700, your Super Bowl matchup prediction and who wins it all. You've got some of these games that are kind of designed to be powerhouse previews. Dallas, Philly, as we mentioned, Kansas City, Chargers. That's happening at Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The international efforts of the NFL continue this year with, 9 games overseas being played over the course of the season. Opening weekend features a couple really interesting ones. You've got Baltimore, Buffalo, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, so that's one. That is one on the station. We have Monday Night Football as well. Vikings, Bears, not quite as saucy of a
matchup. Giants, Commanders, right off the bat. You've got the powerhouse matchup of Carolina and Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no one cares.
Battle of the Cats.
San Francisco versus Seattle, kicking things off at Lumen Field in Seattle. That's going to be obnoxious because we've got a sales guy here, love you, Chad, who is just going to be wearing Seahawks gear.
And he's going to go out of his way
wearing it today.
To show you.
He's wearing it today. He's going to wear it tomorrow.
He likes to needle you with that.
He's probably going to text me on Saturday and Sunday that he's wearing Seahawks gear. And
the Sunday 10 a.m. game on the station, Steelers Jets. So that's also a really intriguing one.
All right. Aaron Rodgers' new team versus his old team, neither of which are going to be successful with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. We already saw it with the Jets, and I don't think it's going to work out for the Steelers.
Probably still a Steelers blowout, though, because the Jets look like they're going to be awful, like they typically are.
You could just clip that and play it any year that you want to. You don't have to. You don't have to make that. You don't have to use that sentence again. You can just throw it out there over and over and over again. You could be doing this show in 2045 and just play that drop, and you'll be fine. Detroit, Green Bay also happening on the opening weekend. The NFL has scheduled you some treats. I guess Raiders, New England, the Tom Brady connection now that he's an owner.
Yeah.
And he's telling a lot of stories, right? There's a lot of tales coming out. I just saw, apparently in the COVID year in 2020, the Raiders were close to grabbing Tom Brady.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
Revisionist history, that would be.
Wait, wasn't that a Gronk story initially? He said me and Tom almost went to Vegas. Anyway, the stories are coming out from couple different sources.
2689 says Lions Bills in the Super Bowl and the Bills will win.
Ooh.
2301 Denver Detroit. Denver wins it all. Whoa.
That's
Denver did just they secured Nick Bonito for all-pro outside linebacker, largest non-quarterback contract that the Broncos have ever given anyone. He's going to be making about $30 million a year. Why was I not an elite pass rusher who also happened to be 20 years younger than I actually am? Because these guys are making big money now. I do it. I overdo it. I look at the contracts that are handed out to wide receivers, to quarterbacks, and to pass rushers, and I say, all wide receivers can do for you is catch touchdown passes. Like, Yeah, they're supposed to block downfield and stuff, but that's the metric, right? You actually don't even care about how many 100-yard games a guy has. How many touchdown passes can that guy catch for you? Same thing is true of tight ends to some extent. But again, a traditional tight end like a George Kittle, he's also going to block for you. He's going to help you execute in the run game. Wide receivers, that's all they do. These outside pass rushers, you want one that's really solid in the run game, right? But they're paid. The reason the contracts get inflated is because they're supposed to generate sacks for you and QB pressures. They're supposed to be the disruptive force, the John Henry Daly kind of a game where even if you get a couple of sacks, you got approaching double-digit pressures. That's impact on a game, right?
Watch out, steam engine.
I don't know why you keep doing that. Steam shovel.
I'm sorry, steam shovel.
John Henry, the steel driving man, he wasn't himself a locomotive. He was helping build the railroads.
Yeah. I believe real guy, but the story exaggerated. That's what I believe. Actually, real person. Not unlike Paul Bunyan, not real person. Obviously, story not real, but John Henry, real guy, exaggerated story.
So Nick Bonito had 13.5 sacks and an interception last year. Okay, so you're paying a guy like that on his sack numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, you're paying him for his sack numbers.
I mean, watch out for him in pass coverage, though. Interception.
He had fewer than 50 total tackles last year, which is his best year, and it's not a bad year by any stretch of the imagination.
Second team All-Pro. I mean, that's what you get rewarded for financially and in the awards now at that position.
You're paying more than $2 million per sack, and if you're looking at a Micah Parsons contract, he's going to make $47 million a year. Because the team's like, he can give us at least 12 sacks. If he gives them 12 sacks a year for the rest of his career, they're probably going to be happy. You're looking at, that's a 4-to-1 return on each sack. And when I say 4-to-1, I'm not talking about $4 or $400,000. I'm talking about $4 million. Nick Bonito is going to get $2 million per sack. And the Broncos would be overjoyed to pay that money.
I did not realize, by the way, reading the ESPN article about the deal, that the Broncos led the league in sacks last year. So he was the team leader on the team that led the league in sacks. So yeah, and that's it's interesting because we have talked to and you in particular, OC, have done the analytical research to see like how much does sacks actually contribute to winning, at least in the college football side. And there's not a direct correlation between the highest sack teams in college football and the best teams in the country, right? Just like we saw with rushing yards, which was another interesting thing. But it feels like it's such an important thing because it can end drives, it can drastically shorten drives for opposing teams. Not necessarily something that you can point to goes, yes, this obviously is why they win, though.
Bills take it all, 2186 says.
Bills-Eagles, that would be a fun one.
92-31, Ravens over Eagles, 34-30, getting real specific on the prediction. Here's the thing with the Bills. Here's the thing with the Ravens. You're talking about teams who have undeniably, unequivocally, you can't make an argument against it, a couple of teams that have two of the top 5 best quarterbacks in the league, right? MVP players. Both of those guys have taken home the individual award that says you are the best player in the NFL. But neither of those individuals have won the Super Bowl. And having an MVP award is fantastic, but because we make Super Bowl wins a quarterback stat, what matters for Josh Allen and what matters for Lamar Jackson is, can you get over the hump and can you win a Super Bowl? And by the way, you better do it while your window is open, because the windows only stay open in the NFL for a typical team, for a mortal team, for like 3 or 4 years. And because those guys are both highly compensated, their window and their margin for error is a lot more narrow than the Commanders right now, for example, or the aforementioned Broncos, who still have their starting quarterback on a rookie deal. Eventually, you got to pay the piper, and Baltimore and Buffalo, like Kansas City and like some of these other organizations with veteran quarterbacks, have found a way to stay relevant even when they've had to pay that quarterback. The biggest question I have about the San Francisco 49ers right now is, can you continue to compete? They had the health question from last year. Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, everyone's healthy again this year, right? If those guys stay healthy, can you compete when you're now paying Brock Purdy $270 million or whatever?
Well, and you re-upped your other important veterans. You gave George Kittle an extension. You gave Fred Warner an extension.
You overpaid George Kittle. I think you properly paid Fred Warner. You overpaid Brandon Ayuk. And
didn't Trent Williams recently got the extension he needed too? And so
Trent Williams, even at 39 years old, is worth whatever you pay him, because
it's a valuable position, that left tackle. Yeah,
and he's still one of the. I mean, last year Trent Williams came in with no training camp, and it took him like 4 games to get back into game shape. And then he was still Trent Williams when he was healthy.
Yeah, and even when he was getting into game shape, he was still one of the better pass protectors in the league.
So the most intriguing storylines for me right now are the Ravens and the Bills, for the reason I just mentioned. The Detroit Lions are fascinating because they're oh so close, right? Detroit is one of those teams that was a laughing stock in the league for so long and is now universally respected, and I think weirdly people root for them.
Yeah,
I think people like Campbell, and I think people like the idea that Goff could find a way and win a Super Bowl and put himself into a different conversation in terms of his legacy as a quarterback.
I think around here there's a fair number. We had one texter air a grievance about it a couple weeks ago, in fact, that there's because of Luther Ellis and Scott Mitchell, there's some Lions fans around here too, and that have kept their fandom and now are being rewarded.
But it's great to be a team that kind of contends. It's great to be a team that gets back into the conversation. But really, what matters is, did you win a Super Bowl? And Detroit is not there yet.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking enough about Aiden Hutchinson, because his havoc rate and his production when he's healthy for such a young player has been absolutely absurd.
Talk about a pass rusher who gets paid for getting sacks. Yeah.
Aiden Hutchinson.
And causing havoc.
I mean, I don't know, I'll look it up during the break. I don't know what the number is on him being defensive MVP this year, but if you're a believer, as some of our texters are, in the Lions even making it to the Super Bowl, then splash a few dollars or a few points down on Aiden Hutchinson winning defensive MVP, because that's what's going to get you there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you ready for mine?
Yeah.
Bills, Rams, Bills win.
Bills, Rams. Bills win. Okay.
I doubt Rams have been put in as a Super Bowl.
They haven't. I've heard a couple people, some Good Morning Football. There were folks, kind of like showing some love to the Rams. It's not outside the realm of possibility. My difficulty with the Rams is, we talked. Eric Weddle's going to join us on the show today at 1:00, and we talked with him last week. He's very intrigued by the Rams as well. But like, Matthew Stafford is in his late 30s and has a back problem.
Yeah, that's true. The injury, the fact that he missed most of training camp and he would have missed preseason anyway. They don't play their guys anymore in the NFL, but that is an obvious concern for them.
And Matthew Stafford, he can miss all of training camp at his age and with his level of experience and his talent, and you're like, fine. And if it was just like, Matthew Stafford is going to a bunch of weddings and that's why he's missing, I'd be like, okay. Right. I wouldn't question commitment. I'd say that's a veteran privilege, whatever. Anyone out there who has had back issues, and I've been mostly healthy in my life in sports, but the only time I've had problems, really, lower back problems. And I will tell you, it makes not only competition miserable, it makes preparation miserable. It makes life between competitions miserable. He had to get an epidural shot. Like, Matthew Stafford, to my knowledge, is not a pregnant woman.
And labor. No.
That is insane. And guys do extreme things to keep themselves healthy so that they can compete. But that would be my concern with the Rams. They've got,
that's fair.
Jared Verse, one of the best young players in the business right now. Puka Nacua, one of the best young threats in the business right now. I like a lot of what they have going on.
They just acquired Devontae Adams in the offseason, too.
And they've kind of figured out how to bridge. They went all in. They cashed in all the chips to win that Super Bowl, and still they get to be in the conversation, which is amazing, is remarkable. I thought there would be a precipitous drop-off that would last 4 or 5 years, and here they're already kind of back. But you have to build your expectations around, and we've seen this at the University of Utah in a painful light. When you build all your expectations for a team, you have to build them around a quarterback. And if that quarterback is not healthy, you've got to abandon all hope, ye who enter here. And that is rough for Rams fans this year, I think, potentially at least. All right, we got to take a break here on the Sean O'Connell Show, brought to you by Big Willie's, Utah Sports Bar at 1717 South Main Street. Head in today for the lunch special. It's always between $12 and $15, the lunch specials. So tell them OC sent you. Lindsay Rose from Sumer Sports is going to join us talking about the numbers and the analytics on this upcoming NFL season, which kicks off tonight, and you can listen to that right here on ESPN 700. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, just getting started on a Thursday. Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show on a Thursday. NFL kicks off tonight. Lindsey Rhodes from Sumer Sports joins us to talk about the upcoming NFL season. We might sprinkle in a little college football as well. Lindsey, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm so excited for this game tonight. Finally some NFL football on our TV screens.
How much of the storyline around this game is going to revolve on the Micah Parsons situation? I mean, like off-season storylines, they dominate when we're in the off-season, and then you get to play, and it's like, all right, now we could talk about the actual gameplay. But it still feels to me like going out there as the Dallas Cowboys and playing without the best player on your team is going to dominate a little bit of the conversation.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the fact that they are playing the Eagles in this game, a rival, celebrating a Super Bowl win, and probably leading comfortably is my guess. I think that will create a scenario where the conversation is even more than it otherwise would be, because you have to talk about the ways in which not having Micah Parsons on the field impacts their ability to compete in this matchup. So if the situation were different and the matchup were specifically a little bit more even under the circumstances, then maybe it kind of goes away faster. But this particular matchup is going to highlight all of the ways in which they miss Micah Parsons. And so I would imagine it's going to be a huge talking point.
And I'm a certified Cowboys hater, so I'm not going to pretend I even come at this from an objective perspective. I love to sit back and laugh at Uncle Jerry doing all of his crazy stuff. And so I've been trashing this move from the beginning of the holdout, basically. And is there a world in which I'm wrong? Is there a world in which it actually does work out for the Cowboys and makes them a better team? Probably not this year, but in the near future.
I mean, of course that world exists. I just don't think it's likely. And I don't think that the process is one that I don't think the process was correct here, in my opinion. And so while the result might end up being, I think what you want to judge, if you're a Cowboys fan, if you are just somebody who's looking at roster building, is the process by which you come to the result. And I think that this one was off. From top to bottom. I haven't talked to anyone in the league, and at Sumer Sports, we have a lot of, former general managers and people who work in, cap and salary and all of these different subject matter experts across the landscape of football. And I haven't talked to anyone who has said, good move by the Cowboys. In general, the outrage that you heard is kind of what I'm hearing behind the scenes too. And I think that the thing that has to be highlighted that I have seen go under-noticed by a lot of Cowboys fans who are defending the move. I've been a little bit surprised at the amount of comments on social media from seeming Cowboys fans who are defending it and saying, well, yeah, but our cap would have been blown and we couldn't afford $47 million a year. And this is a smart move. We got a couple of first round picks and now we're here to rebuild and we'll be better up in the long term. What they miss in that argument is that when we started negotiating with Micah Parsons, in theory, back in February, the number of the highest paid pass rusher in the league was $34 million a year. And then, so if Jerry and Micah has said he wanted to stay in Dallas at that point, so all we can do is believe him. And so if they'd gone to him with a $36 million a year deal and said, you're going top of market, we want you to be here. If they'd loved him up, I believe they could have got a deal done. And what they did was they didn't make that deal. And so they sat there all off season and they watched 4 different edge rushers go top of market and raise the price for Micah Parsons. So now you're sitting at $41 million a year. And TJ Watt, you got to go above that in order to get a deal done, because clearly Micah Parsons is going to go top of market. And then all of this back and forth happens and we end up with some bad blood. And I think it feels like a very personal decision that was made here. It doesn't feel like a good business decision. It feels like Jerry Jones was offended and decided he needed to make a move. And so maybe in the end, I will say this about their front office. Jerry Jones, we talk about it as if it is Jerry Jones. And at the end of the day, it is. But they have a lot of really smart football people in that front office that evaluate their draft picks. They do a good job in the draft. They make some good moves. It's just that we talk about the contract situations that Jerry seems to put them in year after year after year. And I think their front office gets a bad rep as a result. So maybe they'll be able to draft their way out of this, but I don't think the process was good.
Which game in week 1, starting tonight, is going to be most informative for us, whether it's, this is a team on the rise or this is a team that had a Super Bowl window open and now it's closed? I mean, week 1 is only week 1.
Yeah.
Which will be the most informative game and result?
I mean, okay, this is not the answer you're looking for. And as you may have gauged from my first answer, I have a hard time distilling things into quick sound bites. There are a few that I would point to for a few different reasons. Buccaneers Falcons, I think, is one, because we're going to learn more about Michael Penix. And I am really interested to see him run this offense. There's a lot of pieces there. They made some moves on defense. I'm curious to see what the Falcons look like, but also the Buccaneers, because a lot of people have been talking about the Buccaneers as if they're due for regression. They changed their offensive coordinator. He became a head coach elsewhere. What will that look like? I am a big fan of that Buccaneers offense. And so I'm curious to see those two teams go against each other. That's one I have circled. Another one that I think will be pretty telling is Lions-Packers. I mean, that's on the higher end of things. I'm expecting both teams to be very, very good, but you've got the Lions without both of their coordinators from last year and people wondering how that will impact them. This is a team that outscored their opponents last year by the highest margin in the entire league. They were plus 222 in scoring differential last year. The next best was plus 160. This was the most dominant team during the regular season last year. Will they be able to remain that way this year? Not so much against the Packers, I think, because the Packers are also, I think, a team that's going to be a Super Bowl contender, but we're also going to get a look at how much that's the case for the Packers. That's a great matchup right there. I'm looking at Vikings-Bears. I want to see the Bears with Ben Johnson and how much better that offense is in particular. And then I'm really curious to see the Vikings and how, J.J. McCarthy is able to execute that offense. And if they take a step back this year because he's unable to reach the bar that Sam Darnold was at for most of last year, or if he's going to be there and the Vikings are going to be a contender. Those are 3 games that I have circled.
Are my San Francisco 49ers still Super Bowl contenders in 2025?
That's a great question. I think that they're the easiest pick if you're looking at teams that were sub 500 last year that are going to flip the script this year, right? And I think that, as you know, as a San Francisco 49ers fan, there were just a whole bunch of weird curveballs that the team was thrown last season. And so I don't know the answer to that. And honestly, that's another great game, the Niners and the Seahawks, frankly, because we're going to start to get an idea of what that looks like from a Niners point of view. My guess is that CMC is going to be out there looking like the old CMC, and people are going to go, woo, we're back, But the Seahawks also are a team that won 10 games last year and made changes on offense purposefully. Like, they didn't just lose these pieces and were like, oh, no, we lost them. They specifically looked at their offense as the weakness of the team. Defense actually looked great last year. I think our Sean Syed, who's our scheme guy at Sumer Sports, has said that he thinks they might end up being the best defense in the NFL this year. But they changed their offense to get more competitive, and we're all kind of calculating it as a net loss in the offseason, that they're not going to be good because of their offense. I have a hard time believing that they went out and made changes on purpose to change their offense to become more competitive, and that is going to result in them being less competitive. So the Seahawks are a team that feels really interesting to me. They've got some young pieces that could be out there right away. That's another one that'll be interesting to see. Torrey Horton, their rookie receiver, is supposed to be on the field quite a bit. They've got a new tight end in Elijah Arroyo, who they've been lining up all over the field in training camp, sending him like on go routes every once in a while out wide. So that's an offense that we just have no idea what it's going to look like, and we'll get some answers this weekend.
What's more likely for the Commanders, a sophomore slump or a next step?
Next step. I think next step. Though the things that I will be keeping my eye on is whether or not they get a little bit more creative. Like, what wrinkles do they come up with offensively? Because now you have a year of having kind of, you have the ability to go look at tape of Jaden Daniels and the way he uses the weapons there. Obviously, they've made some changes in the backfield. Brian Robinson gone. There's a question mark as to what that depth chart looks like. But in terms of the passing game, you've added Deebo Samuel there. How do you use him? Are you putting him in motion kind of in some of the ways, or is he coming out of the backfield the way that the Niners used him a lot? Is Terry McLaurin still lining up on the left side very frequently? One of the things that this offense did last year and that Cliff Kingsbury has historically done so that he can move fast and get a lot of plays in is line people up in the same spots every single time. And so his number one wide receivers have a history of kind of locking down at that left wide out spot. I'm really curious to see if we switch that up this year and you just start moving people around and it's less simple. They did a good job of this as the year went on last year, but I'm really curious about what those wrinkles are. And if he comes out of the gate with a lot of wrinkles and we're seeing a lot of motion, which statistically is one of the biggest correlations to an increase in EPA per play. Like, use of motion equals increased EPA per play output. There is a statistical story that those two are linked. So I'm looking to see whether or not they do that out of the gate. But I don't have any reason to believe that they will take a step back this year.
Who's more likely to shake the Super Bowl monkey off their back this year, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
I'll go Lamar. I think top to bottom, the Ravens they look like such a good team. You know, the moves they made in the draft. I mean, we had a conversation on the Sumer Sports Show earlier this week, a show you can download wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube, about I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about? You asked a question. I was answering.
Ravens or Bills, more
Ravens,
likely. Yeah. And you said Ravens.
Yes, we were talking about Rookie of the Year candidates, and it's like they even have multiple Rookie of the Year candidates that they drafted, right? Like, do you go Malachi Starks? Do you go up front with Green? Like, they made so many good moves in the offseason to a team that was already very good. Lamar Jackson has consistently shown an ability to get better every single year. The thing that he did last year in terms of a step forward that really impressed me, that made it like, how do you stop this guy, were his numbers against the blitz. He was so good against the blitz last year. And I know narratively we spent a lot of years talking about him as a rushing quarterback. He is an incredible in the pocket passer. He is able to diagnose defenses. There just aren't any weaknesses to his game. So the fact that they were able to make the moves that they did in the offseason this year just puts a really well-rounded team on the field. And so while I think obviously the Bills are going to be in it till the end also, I'm going to give the nod to the Ravens there.
All right, I'm making my listeners do it, so you've got to do it as well. What's the Super Bowl matchup and who wins it?
Okay, I'm going to go with the Lions on the NFC side. And I think I might just be doing that to, like, get a little bit creative so it's not the most obvious answer, which is the Eagles. But I kind of think they might flip this year, where, like, the Eagles are the team that is the dominant team during the season, and then the Lions are also in the mix, and then the Lions get hot in the postseason, and I'm going to give them the Super Bowl berth this year. And on the AFC side, and also my winner, and I know everyone's going to, like, groan and crash their car when they hear this, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason is because they are always freaking there. Yeah. Like, if I'm going to place a bet, and it's literally not an odds-driven bet, but I'm saying just pick teams, it has to be the Chiefs because they're always in the game. They've been to the AFC Championship every year, right, since Patrick Mahomes has been there. They've been to the Super Bowl as the AFC representative for 5 of the last 6 years. That is wild. That is wild. If you're telling me that a team has a 50-50 shot, pretty much, to win the Super Bowl every year, then I got to give them the nod. Like, there's just something that they have there in terms of what Andy Reid has done and with Patrick Mahomes that even last year, for crying out loud, the fact that they're in that game in a year when we all kind of like scratched our head all season and we were like, they don't look that impressive, but then they went to the Super Bowl anyway. It's just hard for me to bet against them.
Yeah, I think that's where the smart money goes. But going to be a fun season. Hopefully, we get a chance to talk to you on a regular basis. Sumer Sports has become one of our favorite outlets here in prepping for the shows, and we mostly just steal your takes. So I hope you're okay with it.
Please do steal away, and I love hearing that. Thank you so much.
Lindsay Rhodes will check in throughout the football season. Kind enough to join us today on the Sean O'Connell Show. We are 10 minutes away from Devin Dampier edition with Dev. The Utah starting quarterback sits with us every single week. Of course, we'll talk a little Cal Poly, but really, you gotta digest what happened in his Utah football debut. That's coming soon on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Fellas, ladies, Stansbury Park Golf Course takes like 12 minutes to get there, okay? It's actually easier to get to Stansbury Park Golf Course than some of the ones in the Salt Lake Valley because you're going at lunchtime, you grab a little tea time, $45 on weekdays, $50 on weekends. You jet out there real quick. You play around. You get back to work. Maybe it's a long lunch, but you can make it happen, especially if you're playing 9. And the travel back and forth, the convenience of its proximity to I-80 makes it so it's actually easier to get to that course in Stansbury Park than to some that you think are closer to you. We tested it out, all right? There's water on almost every hole, which means you probably have to take an extra sleeve of golf balls, but it affords you an opportunity for a more challenging round, a lot more fun than just some of the, the pure green courses that we have around here. Grab your crew, grab your clubs, head out there on I-80, take it west, Stansbury Park Golf Course, great rates, gorgeous greens, only minutes away. It's totally worth the trip. Book your tee time at stansburypark.gov/golf course, stansburypark.gov/golf course. And as always, tell them that OC and ESPN 700 sent you. All right. I want to make sure that we give the Dishing with Dev enough time. Devin Dampier, starting quarterback at the University of Utah, coming off a stellar performance in his Utah debut. Dominant from the quarterback and from the offense against UCLA. Preparing now for a Cal Poly game. The starting QB, number 4 in the program, number 1 in your hearts. He joins us next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, you've been waiting for it. We give it to you now. Dishing with Dev, QB1, University of Utah starting quarterback Devin Dampier joins us in studio for our favorite weekly segment. Dev, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Good.
Best thing about 1-0 is a chance to be 2-0. How does it feel to start off the season with a big win at the Rose Bowl against UCLA?
Yeah, awesome. We fulfilled our team expectations going out there to play as a unit, and I felt like we did that. So expectations were met for us.
I'm glad that you used the word expectations there, because that was the thing that all off season long every Utah fan was buzzing about. We were talking about every damn day on this show. What should we expect? What is a reasonable level of expectation, not just for the team, but obviously for you very specifically, because you and by extension Jason Beck were brought in to fix the issues of the last 2 years. And so the expectation, I'll be honest with you, I was like, I had said it based on conversations I had with some of your coaches at New Mexico and on my own assessment of your New Mexico games. And so my expectations were high.
Yeah.
But I was like, that spoiled me right there. That UCLA game, I was just like, okay, well, now the bar gets elevated even more. So expectations are such a fascinating thing, and I'm glad the team's expectations were met. I think that the fan base, and I'm a member of that fan base, I think you exceeded those expectations in week 1.
Yeah, I felt like our expectations were, our defense has always been good every year. So, that was huge for them to have that type of game as well. Their total yards were very low. So to do that in nowadays age is, that's what's up. And, yeah, just offensive-wise, I talked about it a little earlier. Just, we wanted to make emphasis that we could score the football on the offensive side and, just turn that thing around this year. So.
Well, you certainly did that. Are you the type, like if I say what was your exact stat line from Saturday, can you give me every number? Do you memorize those things?
No, I do remember I had a 80% completion rating.
21 of 25, 206 yards.
Yep.
8.2 yards per completion, a couple of touchdowns, and, of course, no interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember the no interceptions, too. I definitely am completion percentage and interception. That is the numbers I remember for sure.
Okay. Obviously, some of that is what we've been talking about all off season long as well. Tell me how it felt, right? You're out there, you're taking your first snaps, you're getting the picture of an opposing team, right? It's a different uniform for the first time since you've been at the University of Utah. Was the game nice and in the passing game specifically? Because obviously when you're running the ball, everyone's moving in slow motion except for you. We'll get to that here in a second. But were the sight windows what you thought they would be? Were your receivers as open as you thought they would be? Did the passing game play out for you the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I think I actually felt just a little bit more comfortable than I expected myself to. I went in that game, with confidence. I got a year under my belt already, so why not go out there like I've been out there before? And, my team helped me out a lot. So, yeah, just being out there, I felt like I was very confident, and just the amount of film and time I put into it, I felt like I got everything that I was expecting from the defense as well. So, yeah, I felt like I was on it.
How crucial was that opening drive for you? You guys' first offensive possession, march the ball down the field and get into the end zone, which, of course, is a tone setter in any game, but in the first game of the season and in your first game in a Utah uniform, I imagine maybe even more significant.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely it's just a big momentum thing for sure, as also just for us to be on the field all together for the first time, and we can obviously put up points right away. There's a lot to grow from that, but just huge confidence booster rest of the game.
We're also gonna record a conversation with Jason Beck today. All right, we do Coordinator's Corner. Last week it was Morgan Scally. Today it's going to be Jason Beck. I came on the show yesterday, which was our first show after the long weekend, and I said there's never been a better first impression made in sports than the one that you and he put together for this Utah fan base. His play calling in that game, I felt, was masterful. I felt like it appealed to the folks who want a more creative offensive approach, but also to the folks who like the way Utah's done it, because you put together a 10-minute drive in the third quarter or whatever. Give me your assessment of how the play calling went in that game. Every time that something comes in your ear, were you thinking that's going to work?
Yeah. Obviously I'm at Utah because of him.
Yeah.
I truly enjoy being in his offense. I feel like, again, it is creative and it's very my play style. And, I just felt like Coach had that trust in me this game for sure. I felt it out there. He allowed me to dial up the offense, gave me a lot of options during plays to do what I wanted. And, when the coach allows you to do that, efficient plays normally come out of that.
You were the leading rusher for Utah in this game as well. 16 carries, 87 yards, 5+ yards per carry. You got into the end zone with your feet. Is that a workload that you felt like it was a good even split in the pass game and in your individual run game this week?
I just play to win, to be honest with you. I know you're gonna hate me saying that, but dude, I go out there and if it happens, I'm running that ball. So,
sure.
The workload's never too much for me though. I never complain about either side, throwing or running. Whatever's gonna get that done.
Honestly, I was more expecting you to say like, no, give me 25 carries. I want to go over 100 yards every game or something like that. But I mean, look, it was obviously a massively productive game. You guys only had to punt the ball away one time. You got a 54-yard field goal out of the freshman kicker. One of the hard things about a game like that, where everything goes so well, and you put up 40+ points, and you hold the defense holds the opposition to only a single touchdown, is you say, all right, what do we have to still tune? What do we have to improve upon? You guys are in film. You know what you still have to improve upon. So give me a couple of the points that were maybe on not quite so positive side of the ledger for you. Some of the things that you came away from the film study after UCLA and said, all right, I got to get better at this, or we have to do this better for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I just think, for me personally, just, protection issues and stuff like that, just me knowing what protection I'm calling, knowing who's free, knowing who I'm responsible for, just throwing into blitzes and things like that. Move on myself. But outside of that, we did actually play a really good game overall. Small details can obviously be fixed, as timing and pushing the depth and things like that for the receivers and whatnot. But we had a pretty efficient game. The biggest part is to go come into this week with the same mindset we had last week, and I think we did that so far coming in.
Yeah, so the tone changes, and we talked about this last week as well. The tone changes when you're getting into the weekly routine. It's now, all right, we celebrated that win on I was asking you off air, not Saturday night. By the time you got home, it was early Sunday morning from the Rose Bowl. So you got to enjoy that a little bit, I guess, on Sunday. And then, how long before you turn the page and say, all right, now it's Cal Poly?
Yeah, I kind of got like a 2-day rule.
Okay.
I live by a two-day rule. I've always have just with football. So 2 days is over. So, I love how we came out, but, it is on to that next week, and let's continue to prove ourselves.
It's a different caliber of opponent heading into this week. I played some FCS football at the end of my career, so look, there's obvious differences. We talked about this last week as well, where the trenches are usually the biggest difference, and I imagine that's going to be the case when you all face Cal Poly. But what have you seen from them? Where are they dangerous? You're obviously a more talented team. You're a bigger, stronger, faster. You're overmatching them by design. But where is Cal Poly decent or something you have to pay attention to with the Mustangs?
Yeah, they do a lot of things with their coverage. They try to switch it up just a little bit. They like to fill in the box and stuff. So, they're a little bit aggressive. They like to try to get in that box and stop that run game. So, that's something to look into going into this game.
The offensive line, we talked about it a lot this offseason. Utah's supposed to have the best offensive line in the country. Through week one, individuals graded out incredibly well. If you pay attention to things like Pro Football Focus, I know the coaches have their own assessment system. And obviously the numbers, both in the run game and you staying clean in that pocket, indicate that the line lived up to the billing, the preseason billing.
Yeah, those boys been working hard. So I'm so happy that the world got to see what they done. They won Big 12 offensive line this week. So yeah, that was awesome. I'm happy they're getting the credit they deserve. But yeah, they kept me really safe back there, and the run game was awesome.
Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, co-offensive Player of the Week, I guess. You had to share it this week, but you got those. You got those honors. And look, I mean that's a cool little feather in the cap for your first game in Power 4 football in the Big 12. How did it feel when you got that news?
Yeah, awesome. I'm always happy to represent my team. You can't win player of the week without those boys. So I'm just happy someone got to represent our team, and it was me. So awesome.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking to QB1 at the University of Utah, dishing with Devin Dampier. Conversation is brought to you by Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Experience the Culligan difference. America First Credit Union, Polylift Concrete Lifting and Piering, and ARUP Blood Services. Give local, save local. You all were the nightcap game. You were the last big important game of the opening week or the opening Saturday, I should say, of college football. And you know what? Notoriously, East Coasters, they don't stay up late to watch, but there's a certain amount of intrigue with this Utah team. Can Kyle Whittingham have a resurgence in what a lot of people think is his last year? Obviously, your arrival and things like that. And I was surprised that on Sunday and on Monday, there were a lot of national media outlets talking about the Utes, talking about you specifically. I know you're not the type to read your own headlines, but when Pat McAfee, biggest sports show in the country right now, is gushing about Devin Dampier, how do you process it?
Yeah, I keep myself very leveled, down to earth type of guy. I feel like that was one game. I still got a lot more to prove. There's 11 more games on the week, so my job is to keep this up, keep our offense up, and let's finish through this season.
Defensive players got some snaps. Coach Witt told us this was going to happen. He said at Big 12 Media Days, Smith Snowden and Lander Barton are going to get some offensive touches. They both got plenty of touches. They both scored touchdowns in this game. Jackson Benny was also playing on offense, which is something I didn't know if all of us expected. Tell me your thoughts on those defensive guys being part of your offense.
Yeah, I thought they played they played super good. Just to be able to have that flip side, to go to defense to offense and have the positive impact that they did. Huge kudos to them. And, that's not easy. That's not easy at all. So they're definitely taking on a hard task to, also learn the offense as fast as they did. And, yeah, I love the way they play. That's why they're in there.
I think Smith Snowden, my hot take from yesterday was he played too well on offense. He's going to end up being more of an offensive player by the end of the year than a defensive player by the end of the year. If he's that dynamic with the ball in his hands, you got to give him at least that many snaps on offense probably every game.
Yeah, no, Smith's got some talent for sure. No doubt. I just talked to him about it too. I was like, you got to do something on offense a little better. And he was like, man, everybody keeps talking to me about offense. I still was locking people up. It's like, we know.
Tell me, Jackson Benny is one of the most fascinating guys on the team for me because, it's the fairy tale story of you show up, local kid, nobody knows who you are, nobody knows you're going to be a good player, and suddenly this coaching staff trusts. He was a great special teams player last year, and this year this coaching staff trusts him to play multiple positions on defense and even take offensive snaps. I mean, that is the dream for every kid who grows up watching the Utes. Tell me what you think of Jackson. What's his I've never even talked to him. What's his personality like? What's his role on this team as a guy who came in like everyone knew Spencer Fano was going to be good when he committed to the University of Utah. Jackson Benny was a nobody, and I say that affectionately because he just proved himself through practice and game reps.
Yeah, I even got to hear last year that he came in as a walk-on and earned that scholarship very early. So, he's a grinder. I honestly think he's probably one of the most athletic people on our team. He's good all everywhere around. So, I love the way he plays offense and defense. He's one of those guys that you're gonna expect that 100% effort every single play.
I'm getting to the nitpicky stuff now, so you're gonna enjoy this. But when you're carrying the ball, there's a certain excitement, but also everybody in this fan base holds their breath a little bit, like get out of bounds, get down. You're not shy about contact. I know you're being smart, but you got hit a couple times in this game. When you watch back or when you get up after being tackled, is there ever like all right, and next time I got to get out of bounds. I'm the quarterback. I'm QB1. Like, how do you process that part?
Yeah, adrenaline is a thing for me.
Sure.
It's definitely going during the game. So, I don't feel those hits until obviously after the game. But I could slide a little bit more. I think just watching it, like, okay, I probably could have slid right there or not. But I just think, when you play not to get hurt, that's when bad things normally happen. So I just play to my natural ability, and whatever feels right in that moment, that's what I do.
I remember we used to talk to Cam Rising, and I asked him a question similar to that. And there's almost a level of offense taken, like, because the implication is that as a quarterback, you're not a football player. You can't handle the contact. And I know that's not it. It's just there has to be a more intellectual approach when your position is so important to the success of the team. So are you like a tiger that can't learn new stripes when it comes to contact, where you're just like, that's me? I'm a football player first, and I'm going to run through some things. I'll try to slide when it feels right. But is that something that can be coached out of you if it has to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very coachable just as a person. So, yeah, it's something I can get to. Game time mindset's so much different though when you're on that field, and your heart's pumping. Anything can happen. So.
Yeah, obviously. All right. So, did you have a chance to watch any of the other? There were Sunday games. There were Monday night. There was a Monday night game in college football. The Big 12 had representation all across the full opening weekend. Did you have a chance? Do you care to watch those games because you're so deep into what you all are doing?
Yeah, no, I love football. Just got off watching that TCU game. They played that outstanding as well too. Just open up against North Carolina like that. But yeah, I mean, I got to watch Baylor, obviously the Texas game. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're tuned in all football games. We love. I personally, I always try to just uplift everybody in college football. I never try to bring people down. We're all in this for the same goal. So,
what is the conversation in the locker room about? Now you're a ranked team, top 25 team. You guys seem like you've proven at least 1 week that you're capable of what a lot of people think you're capable of. But also, if you get a chance to watch the rest of the the performers in the Big 12, it looks like there's like 4 or 5 pretty good teams in this conference. Is that part of your daily awareness at all, that you guys are like, oh yeah, we're good, but also did you see what TCU did? Did you see what Iowa State's done so far?
Yeah, we stay very inside our circle when it comes to this outside noise and extra stuff like that. We try not to pay overly too much attention just because we're ranked. That's not going to stop the way we play or change our mindset or anything. But yeah, just to see more Big 12 teams in there, I love it because I feel like we're that conference everyone's trying to sleep on and stuff like that. So to see that we're climbing up in there and we're kind of getting our respect that we deserve, it's awesome.
The scoring got spread out. Nobody scored multiple touchdowns. Everyone is like Oprah's favorite things. You get one, you get one, you get one. Do you feel like that's going to be kind of the identity of this offense, where rather than having a bell cow back or a go-to wide receiver, everybody's going to get to participate in the touchdowns?
Yeah, I think when someone gets hot, they get hot, and you definitely go to them for sure. But for the most part, yeah, this is an offense where anyone can get the ball any play. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of take whatever the defense gives, and most of the time those guys are open.
Lot of really strong performances on both sides of the ball, as we have already talked about. Is there anyone that we're still sleeping? We still haven't seen what that person is capable of, that because you've been practicing, you've been working hard with these guys that, maybe in week 1 didn't really get to showcase what they're capable of, but it's coming at some point.
Yeah, I think I would say Tobias and Ryan Davis, those 2 receivers. Got to see a little flashes of them last game, but definitely, when when the pass game is obviously involved more in winning the game, those guys are going to shine.
That is one thing that, we had conversation with listeners and things like that about, like, well, all these defensive guys having to take offensive snaps. I had a question yesterday on the text line. Does it mean that there's not enough talented guys on offense, so we got to lean on those guys, or is it just because they're that good? I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah, we play week by week with what's going to work and what's not, and we thought you're going to get a lot of open field situations on the perimeter, and we think Smith Snowden's one of those guys. You get him the ball with space, he's going to make stuff happen. So we're able to get him in a lot of those situations, and just the run game. We had 2 tight ends in almost every single play, so running plays off of our 2 tight end look was awesome as well.
The game this weekend is going to have a Ring of Honor induction for 2 important people in the history of Utah football. Coach Ron McBride, for the modern fan, is a guy that kind of started the journey that Utah is on right now, right? In the early 90s when you'd lost to BYU 18 times in a row or whatever, he's the guy that came in and started turning things around and put Utah on the path it's on right now.
Yeah.
He was coaching when you weren't even born yet. So, do you have an awareness of Coach Mack and the impact he's had on this program? Is that something that they're talking about, like in a team meeting, to educate you all, or how is the modern day Ute connected with these 2 guys that are going into the Ring of Honor this weekend?
Yeah, I wouldn't say overly talked about internally, just like in team meeting and stuff, but definitely online. I've actually I peeked it this week. That was sick. Our U Nation is very good at we don't forget our youths. We definitely appreciate everyone that's wore the jersey. So and been affiliated in this team. So I mean I've seen it, and that's awesome.
When you think of your role on this team, and we're going to be, you guys might be in the locker room when the actual thing is happening. I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah.
But like Alex Smith's name is already up on the side of the stadium. We know some names are going to go up there eventually. Coach Ellis is probably going to be up there eventually at the very least. Coach Witt, obviously, he's going to have a damn statue outside the stadium at some point. But is that a goal in the mind of a player on today's team, or even a goal for you, where you're like, man, if those guys can have their name up there, I'd like to put my name up there, 20 years in the future, or whenever that happens?
Yeah, it's definitely a goal. That's kind of one of those forever milestones you lay down that people will not forget. So it's always cool to have such a big impact that a university thinks you deserve your name to be recognized anytime.
So Cal Poly, as we already talked about, FCS team, these games are designed to be kind of tune-ups, tweak the fine details, things like that, but you do have to give an opponent respect. There is a level of expectation, to keep using that word, that, you maybe only play a half, or you get to sit out the whole 4th quarter because you're in a position of a significant lead. But you can't take that for granted. So is the mindset any different at all against a team like this, where it's all about just getting the win, getting out healthy, and hopefully, tweaking whatever minor details before you head into a Wyoming game, and then obviously conference play after that?
Yeah, I just being at New Mexico, I've been on the other side of this, you could say. Just when I went against Auburn and Arizona, I thought Arizona was one of those teams that kind of underestimated us and came out flat. And, obviously we took advantage of that. We scored about 30, 40 points that game. So, and Auburn was a little bit more on top of that. So just to kind of play against that and just see how, they responded now that I'm in the expectation that we're supposed to win this game. I mean, I know what that mindset's like to come into this game. So it don't change me. I'm going into this game, it's another week. All my attention's on this game.
How famous are you in Salt Lake City right now? Like, it's in the morning. Downtown's pretty quiet right now, but can you go to the store? Can you walk around on campus? I mean, that performance was big time, and obviously lived up to or exceeded the expectation. So are you a celebrity right now, in an uncomfortable level of celebrity in Salt Lake yet?
Yeah, it's been cool. I walked from my car to my house, and somebody just recognized me literally from right there. So it's just cool that I've had a positive impact on the community just through football. So yeah, it's been fun though. It's been awesome.
Well, it was awesome to watch the debut of Devin Dampier in a Utah football uniform. It is exactly what people were hoping for. So no pressure, but now you got to keep doing that.
Now we got to keep it up. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Dev, great talking to you every time we get a chance. Good luck against Cal Poly. Stay healthy, and we'll chat again next week.
Yeah, thank you. Dishing with Dev.
Dishing with Dev right here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Our conversation with QB1 every week is brought to you by Culligan Water of Salt Lake City. Experience the Culligan difference. America First Credit Union, Polylift, Concrete Lifting and Piering, ARUP Blood Services. Give local, save local. We got plenty more Utes to talk about and to talk to. Stay tuned right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Daily Dump brought to you by our friends over at Valley Plumbing. The Chain Gang is now backup plan. You know this, right? Starting tonight, as the NFL season kicks off, there's technology in place, a virtual measuring system that will be the primary determinant of whether line to gain has been reached in NFL football games. We've been talking about this for years. Now, the human element remains in that the referees still spot the ball the same way they've always spotted the ball. You're not doing like the microchip GPS in the football or whatever. It's the referee spots wherever it's at. And then this Sony Hawkeye technology where there's 6 cameras mounted in every NFL stadium, and they're going to use them in the international stadiums as well, they'll calibrate their angles with the position of the ball and decide whether or not it's actually a first down.
But only comes in play if there's a measurement, right?
Yes.
Like if it's not going to be a correct, always correcting the official spot.
No, it doesn't correct the official spot. The official spot is the official spot.
Oh, I see. So it's bait. Right. Okay.
It's just saying, is that far enough? I love the drama of the chain game.
I like the chain game. Do you remember, Gene Steratore, the rules analyst now for CBS, longtime NFL referee? I love I don't remember seeing it live, but I love the clip that they'll play every once in a while where he pulls the index card out of his shirt pocket and uses, like, if the ball isn't touching this index card, then it's short. And the drama you didn't see stuff like that. That may have been the only time you saw something like that, but there was always drama with the chain gang, and we wouldn't have even had an opportunity for something just theatrical like that if not for the chain gang. So I would have liked them to be able to come up with some kind of virtual thing to spot the ball and keep the chain gang.
So the chain gang is going to be there, which makes this almost hilarious. Eric Weddle is going to join us in 23 minutes, by the way, on the show. The Utah football legend and longtime NFL player, multiple-time Pro Bowler, multiple-time All-Pro.
Be interesting if the players are like us fans and they also like the drama of the chain gang. Well, be interesting to hear from Weddle about that.
The funny thing is whether they like the drama of it or not, there's a visual component. Like, you need to know where the spot is. You need to know where the pylon is.
Right.
You got to know where the sticks are.
So you're obviously paying real close attention to all that. Yeah.
And whether or not when you get tackled and you reach beyond the line to gain is still determined by the official spot. They did this thing in the preseason. We didn't really notice much of it in the preseason because nobody watches more than like 5 minutes at a time of preseason football. But they used this system and they overused it in the preseason where a lot of cases, right, the official can see, based on this spot, we're definitely past the line to gain, so let's just go. Anytime it was even remotely close in these preseason games, they would let the technology work because they wanted to get it reps. They wanted to test it.
And I wonder how often in the first month they're going to continue to do that. I hope it's not a ton.
It's 30 seconds or so for the virtual system to get its measurement and decide whether or not it was a first down.
Yeah, so that's pretty quick, yeah.
And it's faster than the chain gang.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. It feels like the more pressing need when it came to spotting a football was, did it break the plane? Scoring opportunities. And that, I don't know how you do that. Because a lot of the times the issue with did the ball break the plane or not is not with positioning the ball. It's it's determining whether or not a player is down and where the ball is at when that player is down. Or if you're talking about like tush-push scenarios, where's the ball? It's in this big pile of bodies. In that case, sensors in the ball would make sense. But there's always the question of, well, okay, how do you make the sensor accurate? If you put the sensor only in the middle of the ball, then the nose of the ball so right. You'd have to do it along a seam.
Well, you do it on the tip of the ball while the other tip is pointing forward. Like maybe you put them in both sides, I guess.
I think you could probably just put like an electromagnetic kind of thread that went from end to end on the ball, I think. But I'm not a technology expert.
Possible.
In any case, the chain gang is now the backup. It's going to be there. It's going to stay there. So that's hilarious because I hope the chain gang people don't have like a pay cut associated with this. It's like, oh, man, you guys are backups now, so you're getting less money.
I don't know. What a raw deal.
The NFL can afford to pay. I mean,
it feels like corporate America type thing to do, though. Oh, so we look at this. We can save a few $100,000 a year with pay cuts we can give to the chain gang.
So 16 games being played this weekend are going to have this new technology, this Sony Hawkeye technology, and we'll figure it out. We'll see if we like it. We'll see how it works, but it's the official. It's not the beta testing. Major League Baseball does this where they let AAA do the pitch clock first, and they're like, okay, it works. Let's put it in the NFL.
Spring training, and then,
In the NFL, they did it in the preseason, and they did it, they were working on this thing all last year, but this is the official system now with the former official system, the chain gang, as backups.
Before the new USFL and the new XFL merged into UFL, one of those two was like the test league for the NFL. I wonder if they and again that's more football that not a ton of people watch, like you said, or at least not full games like you said about the preseason. So I wonder if any of this was utilized in the UFL this year, or if that's still part of that new merged league after they merged. I don't know.
What needs to happen with those other leagues, and this is no longer a conversation on the chain gang thing, the NFL purchasing those leagues would make the most sense. We've talked to Trevor Riley about this, and he was on the radio again this morning and talking about the kind of alternative methods that you can use. He's the GM of the Utah Islanders, and the Islanders are effectively a club team that has partnerships with, right now, Salt Lake Community College. And his vision for it as the GM is to have this be like prep schools. And prep schools are not as popular in football. Prep schools have been a basketball thing in a lot of cases, especially where you bring like an international student over and they'll go to like Wasatch Academy here in Utah, or they'll go to like whatever the Mount Union where Dwight Howard went.
Is it Utah Preps too that AJ DeBanza, is that the name of the one he was part of? Yeah.
So these things exist elsewhere, and sometimes they're used as like bridges between international schooling, or maybe you didn't pay attention to your grades in high school, and then you end up having opportunities to play Division I collegiate athletics. This Utah Islanders thing is, for him, it's like they're all over the place. They've got guys that are in their mid-20s. They've got guys that are 18, and they're trying to kind of like figure out their niche in football. The UFL has been that way since inception, basically. And the thing that would fix it is if the NFL officially invested the way that Major League Baseball officially invests in its minor leagues, the way that the G League and the NBA have a partnership. The NFL doesn't need to do it, so they probably never will, but that would be the thing that would make an alternative league survive, thrive, make more sense.
They could do a lot more of this testing. They don't just have preseason or the Pro Bowl flat. Well, I guess Pro Bowl's not a real football game anymore, so they wouldn't do that. But they don't have they wouldn't just have the preseason to test these important new things out in. If they're not already doing that with the UFL, like I said, one of those two before those spring leagues merged was like the test league. So maybe they are doing it.
And it would make so much sense for the NFL to stash guys.
Yeah.
Like
even
Caleb
using
Lohner.
the CFL as something like that too. Like
Caleb Lohner is the best example of what could work here, right? A guy who adopted football too late to be NFL ready right now, but clearly has the physical skill set to become a good NFL caliber football player. If you had an official partnership, you could keep him in your pipeline, and then you could just stash him. But again, the NFL doesn't need to, because everyone's aspirational dream is to end up in the NFL. So they're just like, they can poach from wherever they want to poach from. It would be a lot healthier, I think, for the alternative leagues if the NFL got on board. The other thing I wanted to touch on in the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing. The Smith Entertainment Group released a new video about the Delta Center renovation and the technology that they're using. They've elevated the floor 2 feet from where it used to be. They have created this new system of risers that expands laterally outward, and that it also expands up like a scissor lift. And you've got this mass reconfiguration happening at the Delta Center for the building to accommodate Jazz basketball and Mammoth hockey with ideal sight lines for both sports. Last year, a lot of us went to those games. The brand new hockey team, a lot of excitement. It was awesome. We had fun seats, really cool seats, kind of in the corner above where you would put a tunnel, right? But the short corner in front of us was an obstructed view. The wall and the people sitting in front of us meant that anytime Mammoth were on the attack, Utah Hockey Club at the time was on the attack, if it came into the, looking on TV, like the bottom right corner of the screen, I had to look up from the seat to the screen. And that doesn't exist anymore. That's no longer the case. When I was going through I want to get out of like an obstructed view seat, they're like, oh, there is going to be no obstructed view seats. I was going to move my tickets, move our family tickets, I should say.
Well, that's nothing. Like, you say that, and it's slightly obstructed for you, but then you had those that they sold very cheaply, and they gave away free food with it, but the single goal views were. The fact that those are no longer a thing is an incredible win for Utah hockey fans.
And so 19,000-ish for Jazz games, 17,000 for Mammoth games, and multiple configuration opportunities for concerts and when T Swift comes back and all that kind of stuff.
Brings Travis with her, of course.
Although that arena is probably too small for that now.
Yeah.
She's going to have to be at Rice Eccles.
Stadium
or LaVelle Edwards Stadium instead. Larger capacity.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's cool. I mean, when they announced that they were doing this however many months ago after the inaugural season, it sounded really cool. And to see the updated video here, it's pretty cool what they're doing, and I personally love as a basketball fan first above everything else. I love that they found an innovative way to keep that slanted or right on top of you feel for Jazz games, because you look around the country. The Crypto.com arena now where the Lakers play, also the LA Kings play, Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia where the Flyers and the Sixers play. You could tell watching it on TV, even Madison Square Garden where the Rangers and Knicks play, you could tell watching it on TV if you're in the lower bowl and you're not in the first couple of rows, you probably got people's heads and backs in your way of the view. That's not going to be a thing here in Salt Lake City, which previous to this endeavor was like, well, that's the sacrifice you have to make when you're having a hockey and NBA arena all in one. Ryan Smith and the Smith Entertainment Group said, no, we're going to find another way. And I'm anxious to see if it's still the slant that they've got with these risers for NBA games still gives it that same feel that we've loved about the Delta Center for so long.
By the way, preseason games, the 2 preseason games, which is so hilarious about NHL hockey, they're just like, yeah, we'll go out and skate a couple times, then we're ready to go.
I think it's like a week of training camp, too. Like, it's like a week of practice,
so
2 games, let's start the season.
October 2nd and October 4th are your preseason games. So we're a month away from hockey, and then October 15th is your regular season opener. Oh, my gosh.
That feels like it's just right around the corner.
You're telling me, James, that Mammoth hosting Calgary and then Mammoth hosting Sharks, first two home ice games of the season, are happening the same week as the Holy War? I've said it so many times that the Holy War is the best sporting event on the calendar every year in Utah. And I didn't love that this game was being played on October 18th, but now I do. Because right smack dab in the middle of October, we get the best sports week in the state for 2025, and it's not just because of the Holy War. It is Mammoth hockey making its debut, obviously NHL hockey making its return, second season, all the optimism, playoffs this year, baby, and it's happening the same week as the damn Holy War, where both teams are going to be undefeated heading in. The number 7 and the number 11 team in the country.
Utah number 7 or BYU number?
Doesn't matter.
Let's go.
I'm fired up for mid-October now.
And like less than a week before the Jazz season? Oh, wait, that's not as exciting.
Not going to see that this year. All right. That's your Daily Dump. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92 on FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. Eric Weddle going to join us in just a couple of minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Want to remind you before we get to E-Dub in our conversation, Big Willie's, presenting sponsor of the Sean O'Connell Show today and every day. They've got specials on drinks and on food every single afternoon. Lunch specials going on. When the game day rolls around, that experience at Rice Eccles is hard to beat. But not everyone has tickets. Or maybe because this is Cal Poly, even if you do have tickets, you did your brother-in-law a favor and you said, yeah, you could take your squad to this game. So you're looking for a place to watch Utah versus Cal Poly. Big Willie's is your answer, okay? And especially for the away games. But even these home games, it's a great option. 1717 South Main Street. Excellent food menu. Comprehensive in your needs. Even if you're somebody who's like, I'm trying to, whittle down the waistline. I'm trying to go for a healthy option. They've got salads. They've got like a low-carb option here and there. And, of course, if you're looking for traditional bar fare, you want onion rings, you want wings, you want fries, you want burgers. That's what they really excel in. And it is excellent food. Locally sourced ingredients whenever that's possible. Big Willie's will hook you up. Drink specials on cocktails and on draft beers every single weekend. When you go down to Big Willie's, tell them OC sent you. They'll take extra special care of you. Head off into the pool hall. They've got the tables recently refelted. Everything is dialed in and ready to go for football season at Big Willie's. 1717 South Main, partner and friend of the Sean O'Connell Show. And my real-life friends in real life. I've known Patrick Manos and that crew, the proprietors of Big Willie's, since my own college days, since my own walk-on football practice, work at the bar until 2:30 a.m., wake up at 5:30 for lift. That's how long I've known these people, all right? Go tell them that you love them. Grab a burger, grab some fries, grab some wings. If you're prone to an adult beverage, they've got that covered for you as well. All the channels you need, all the games you need at Big Willie's. All right, we'll take a quick one here. Eric Weddle to start hour number 3. It's the Utah football legend joining us again on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome to hour number 3 on the Sean O'Connell Show. Our next guest is the head coach of the Rancho Bernardo Broncos. His team is 2-0 after vanquishing the hated Brawley Wildcats 28-7 last weekend. He also happens to be one of the best players in the history of Utah football, a longtime NFL veteran, and my friend Eric Weddle, who joins us on the show. Hello, sir. Eric Weddle, how are you?
Great day to be a Ute. Great day to be a Bronco. Life is good. The future is bright.
Okay, let's talk a little Utah versus UCLA. There was all this conversation, all this anticipation, all this expectation built up all off season long, and we finally got to see what it looks like when it's live against a real Power 4 opponent. What did you think of Utah's opening performance of this 2025 season?
Man, it was fun. It was fun, right? To see just the flow, the domination, the physicality, the motions, the shifts, the different formations, the different players out there. Obviously, you go as your quarterback goes, and man, did he put his stamp on the expectations for the entire. And just being around him, like I was around him in spring ball, and just seeing how he carries himself. Man, just what an impressive human being, and just as good on the field as off. You could tell these guys really gravitate towards him. He is a igniter that raises the level of others around him. And you could just, I mean, you could tell in spring when we talked that this team is on a vengeance from what last season was. That wasn't us. That isn't what we are. It's not our standard by any means. And so I think you're going to see a team that is highly focused, driven, and motivated to destroy everyone across from them week in and week out. And that's what it was. And I don't know. I don't understand for the life of me how coaches can get up there and Coach Foster, like, you weren't close. There was no close in this game. And why don't you just swallow some humble pie, and you got out-coached, outplayed in every facet of the game, and then you'd be respected more. I mean, that was – I don't understand that. I don't understand why coaches try to be in denial to cover themselves or cover the facade of what their team is. You hope they rebound just because you know UCLA. You want them to play well and be good because it's UCLA, but they got destroyed, and you should own that.
It was very strange, and you know when you click on the soundbite that he gave, we're close, and then he says it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when I went back and watched the film. And I don't even know how you come to that conclusion, because having watched the game through a second time, like, they had moments, right? And Nico, there's a lot of promise to what he can do. He's elusive. He's hard to bring down. You've got, I think, 3 guys on that defense who actually know what they're doing, and they filled the stat sheet and nobody else was doing their job. But I'm like, man, that I didn't take a lot of positives away if I'm a UCLA fan. From the Utah perspective, the only question I have is, like, what kind of a litmus test was that? Because this UCLA team has talent in certain spots, but clearly not great team chemistry right now. Not a physical team. There was a lot of moments where it didn't feel like there was a whole bunch of try hard on that team. So when you look at it and you say, okay, that's a Big Ten opponent now. That's an old Pac-12 foe, and they've got NFL guys on rosters. They, like, every single year they've got a talented squad. I think they're terrible, though. So how much do you take away from a dominating win against a terrible team if that's what they end up being?
I mean, regardless of that's more of the program culture, how you prep them. I mean, it was as if they did no live tackling in all of training camp. I mean, that doesn't mean that the guys you're going against aren't top talented guys. And we just, when you play together, when you believe in one another, all the other rankings and athleticism and all that other crap goes out the window, right? When you have a connected team that plays for each other, and is in direct line to the head coach's vision and the coordinators, you can do special things. And it is proven and it's time tested. So I'm not going to slight this win by any means. If they go 0-12, I'm not going to slight them because you still have to go out and prove it. You have to technically and fundamentally do what you're coached to do it together, and really pummel a team. That's not easy to do against a top program in the country. Like, yeah, haven't been successful. That doesn't mean they're not getting great players year in and year out. That's just more of a culture coaching problem.
So focusing, of course, on Utah, the offensive line lived up to the billing, it felt like, in week one. Reset the line of scrimmage on the positive side every single time. When Devin Dampier dropped back, we kept hearing from fall camp, Eric, that like there's some reps where he's getting 7-8 seconds a time to try and get somebody open downfield. There were a couple plays in this game where he had 7 or 8 seconds because he drifts out of the pocket and things like that. What kind of a bonus is that going to be for him as he builds more comfortability in this offense, or I guess in a Utah football uniform, because he's pretty comfortable with the offense already?
Yeah, I would only say is just really try to press the limits of playing the quarterback position the right way, right? And I try to coach my son in the same aspect. You're a quarterback who is an athlete, not an athlete who plays quarterback. And so that means getting the ball out on time, rhythm throws, 3-step ball out, understanding pre-snap coverages, understand rotation, have a plan before the snap. So I would just say for him, when we eventually go against elite defenses, they're not going to let him run around and do all that fun stuff. Hopefully he can, but you have to be able to beat the defenses with your mind and anticipation and instincts. And so that's what I would press for him. Is he going to be able to run the ball 16 times? I know not all of them are design runs over a course of, potentially 14, 15 games. You're going to have to manage that as the season goes on. But the dude's a stud, and he's built like a little mini rhino. And, man, I just love watching him play and inspire and lead our team.
21 of 25 in the passing game. I watched enough New Mexico film from last year to be like, all right, when this guy runs, he's incredibly dynamic. All the question marks about Devin Dampier are, what does he look like when he's doing exactly what you just talked about, trying to play the quarterback position first, when he's surveying his options downfield, when he's reading a defense. He was very efficient in this game. Obviously, he didn't turn the ball over, which is something that, you worried about a little bit with someone who had the stat line he had last year. And we had a conversation with him. It's available, by the way, for anyone who missed it, ESPN700sports.com, where he was like, that's what I really wanted to focus on. No turnovers, high completion percentage. So we saw that from him against UCLA. And you get to look at the game differently than the rest of us because you're diagnosing things now as a coach and also as a guy who was trying to stop quarterbacks for multiple years at the very highest level. Did it look like in the pocket Devin Dampier had the right sense of where he should go with the football and he was doing the right things there?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any super glaring. I think just processing as a quarterback, like that's a very unique trait / ability that can be honed in, right, and can be made better. And so for me, it's like, all right, what is the concept? How are they teaching it? Am I getting through it with the time allotted, right? Like, is it a quick 3? Is it a quick game? Is it 3-step with a hitch? Getting to my check down. Like, are you seeing that as each rep goes through instead of are you seeing one read and then kind of like looking at the rush and then kind of delaying and running around? Like, I just want to see that progression as the years go on because I know in the grand scheme of things, that will help him as a quarterback and it'll help our team be the very best.
Eric Weddle's our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking Utah football, the big win over UCLA to start this 2025 season. All of the questions were going to be about the offense, and all the attention was going to be paid by that or to that output. 43 points it just felt like a so refreshing compared to what you saw a year ago. And then there was the question, less of a question about whether or not the defense would be able to live up to whatever happened on the offensive side and live up to the expectation of Utah defenses consistently, because you're replacing a lot of personnel in the interior defensive line. You've got new bodies in the defensive backfield as well, and they looked really good, especially against the run, which, of course, is a characteristic of good Utah defenses. What'd you make of Morgan Scalley's unit in their first outing in 2025?
Yeah, I talked to him for a brief minute after the game. He called me on the way out when I was driving home. We didn't get back till 2 a.m. And I wanted to let him know how impressed I was, one, with our corners. There weren't guys running open, and when the ball was thrown to those receivers, they were right there in phase, outside of the one bust that, ironically, Matthews, the one that was transferred, couldn't haul in. But, yeah, I mean, that is a staple. We understand what we are. The turnover is going to happen. We're going to reload and get guys in there. But you've talked to him. He's been really optimistic about our defense, about who was coming back, a healthy Lander Barton, our secondary. And then he was really high on those young bucks on the defensive line. And they definitely showed why they are in there playing, and especially those edge rushers, Fano, and then the other guy, I'm drawing a blank, but he had a bunch of pressures and a couple sacks.
Yeah, John Henry Daly, yeah.
Yes, Daly. Yeah, I mean, shoot, like, let's go. I mean, and it's a whole, as a team, right? Like, you understand the offense is going to give you rest on the sideline. They're going to control the clock. They're going to ground and pound. Then they're going to score points. It just invigorates the entire team, which in fold result in a destruction of a proud program that is not so proud anymore.
When you're talking about a defensive front, yes, with some of the young guys, and I agree with you, they performed incredibly well. Got some push even on the interior, which is always great to see. When Morgan Scalley can get pressure with 4, what does that do for his defensive backfield, and what does that do for his linebackers?
Well, it obviously keeps an extra guy in coverage. It enables you to manipulate the coverages, go through a Rolodex, right? Not giving the same picture, playing and play out. To confuse the quarterback. And, even though I like to bring pressure, timely pressures and manipulated pressures, if you can get there home with 4, I mean, that is the recipe at any level to stifle an offense, is being able to get home with 4 guys and able to double and manipulate the coverage on 3 receivers, because most times they have to keep 7 in the block.
Eric Weddle for a couple more minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking Utah football. We'll get to the upcoming NFL season, which kicks off tonight here in just a second. Smith Snowden got a bunch of snaps on offense, looked really good with the ball in his hands. Lander Barton caught a touchdown pass. Jackson Benny, the former walk-on, also played both ways in this game. And the only question I really got a bunch of on Tuesday when we came back on the air were people like, hey, does this mean there's not enough offensive talent on this team that you got to rely on those guys defensively? If you get into nitpicking and worrying, even after a dominant performance like that, that is one place you can go. What did you think of the reps for Smith Snowden and Lander Barton in particular on offense?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the team and it's about winning. And if you're worried about playing time or you're worried about this and that, then either get better and make your reps count and be impactful when you're out there so these other guys aren't on the field, or go to another program, right? Like, the days of catering and worrying about these kids and their emotions, like, I go through it with my high school, and I got 5-6 wide receivers, and they're all kind of getting their emotions because they're rotating and stuff, and I say, hey, someone take over. How about that? How about you practice better? How about you block better? How about you run the right routes at the correct depths at the right timing and go make your reps count? Don't look at me or get all hissy fit about it. I mean, because that's reality. I mean, so I would say the same thing. And at the end of the day, I'm about winning. And if a guy can help us win, then I'm all for it.
Smith, I thought on offense, he looked like he's so good you might have to use him more on offense than you do on defense. I mean, we'll see how the season progresses, but
yeah, I think his rep count was 20 plays each, offense and defense. Around that.
Yeah, I think it was like 22 on one, 23 on another or something. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I mean, he could really fulfill both sides in that capacity, right? 25 each, 50. I mean, now you're playing a 50, 60 snaps of a whole game on one side of the ball, which is typically a full game, but now you're getting it on both sides. So, I mean, yeah, keep being innovative, keep changing it up and making defenses worry about everything, right? Instead of, you don't want to be stagnant, you don't want to do the same thing. Keep pressing limits, keep putting the pressure on the opponent.
What do you want to see against Cal Poly? We know what these games are designed for. Cal Poly's a Big Sky team. They're not even supposed to be a good Big Sky team this year. What do you want to see from the Utes in an FCS opponent game?
Yeah, I want to see us play sound Utah football in all three phases. I would love to see our return game get going. I would love for us to get 3-4 crisp drives, get our passing game, work on some things for the future, show some things for the future that we'll have counters for. And then defensively, I don't want to see a first down. Like, I would challenge our defense as a group, players only, that I would say, hey, let's see how great we could play for a half. Let's see how many 3-and-outs we can get. How many turnovers can we create? And really buy into the aspect that we're challenging each other. We're not worried about our opponent. We're not worried about the coaches. We're not worried about anything else. We're challenging each other to see how great we can play and play as one. So that's what I would want to see in a nutshell.
All right, the NFL season kicks off tonight. You got Dallas-Philly, one of the traditional rivalries. Dallas goes in without their best defensive player, their best player overall, who's now been traded away to Green Bay. If you're a member of that team, if you're in that locker room and you're getting ready to start your season, it's not your job to put the roster out there. Your job is to go out and perform. But how does it affect you when you're no longer with the best player of your team? You don't have him anymore. How's it going to affect the Dallas Cowboys?
Players are very. You can't worry about that stuff. And I've had teammates get traded, get cut, that I didn't think. And at the end of the day, when the lights turn on and you walk into that stadium, you got a job to do. And you're going to go out there with the guys that you've been working with. Micah, Parsons hasn't even been practicing with them. So they've been ready for this. They'll be okay. And I think, honestly, for the Cowboys and management, when I put on my management hat, I would have tried to maybe get one more draft pick, but the reality is the risk versus reward, and what has he done in the playoffs? You have to think about that. When the lights are the biggest, has he produced for 45, 48, 50 million? I like to trade for the Cowboys, if I'm being honest. You can replenish your roster. They weren't going to be great on defense with Parsons, so they were going to have to outscore people. From the moves they made, that was going to be their identity. So I don't know. I think Dallas is going to be. I think they're going to be better this year. I think Dak's going to play really well. I really like Dak as a man and as a QB. It's Gage's favorite player, so it's fun to root for him. He's always been super nice to Gage and whatnot. So I actually got the Cowboys tonight in an unexpected upset.
Do you think that Philadelphia, I guess to that vein, if you're picking against them, do you think that they've got a little bit of a Super Bowl slump coming? Is this a year where they regress, or can they start building, I guess, even off the success they've had already?
I think the stability with Sirianni, I think with the core guys that they got, I really like their connection to their team, their identity, right? Like, they've been good for a couple years now. So I don't see a huge drop-off. I just think early on in the season they're going to be finding themselves. It's a long season for those guys after a Super Bowl, and then everything gets pushed back. Right? You're not reporting in April. You're reporting at the end of April now. So you're missing out on 2 to 3 weeks of training and getting better when you're on your own. So I just think like early on the first quarter of the season they may be like 2-2, but they'll be one of the better teams. They're too loaded roster wise and too good at coaching not to be.
I guess I should probably know this, but did you play in any of the international games?
Oh yeah, I played in 4 or 5 of them.
All of them in London? Where'd you play?
They were all in London, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you got Sao Paulo, Brazil, for the Chiefs and Chargers tomorrow night. Did you enjoy the overseas stuff? Is it because you're a creature of habit and routine when it comes to game week, so I imagine it's a little bit different when you got a 10, 12-hour flight instead of a 2 or 3 hour flight. How did you process the international games versus regular games?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's not ideal. I thought it was pretty cool. You get to play in a different country, and you get to see the fans, and they all wear everybody's jersey, so you just see random jerseys everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They just love football, and they're like genuinely excited to see an NFL game. So that part is cool. I've been there the whole week. Like my first time we went to Buffalo, played Buffalo. That night we flew overnight and got to London and stayed the entire week, which I felt was the best of all the different ways to do it. We played in Atlanta one year, then stayed the whole week in Atlanta, then flew Saturday morning across, and then played Sunday, and then that was just a long road trip on a quick turnaround. So I enjoyed it. It was cool. You get a bye week after, so I always like the extra bye week to hang out and try to go see the youths or spend time with the kids. So it's cool.
All right. Well, speaking of the kids, Gage Weddle, 11 of 15, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns last week as a quarterback, 5 rushes for 47. That's 9.4 yards per carry. Also played on defense and looked good there. And you guys won, which I know is the most important thing to you. How much fun is the first 2 weeks of your high school season been?
It's been good. It's been good. It's been a progression for a lot of young guys taking their first snaps and trying to manage that and try to instill confidence in them and, really putting a lot on our older players and or the quarterback and safety. So he's handling it and he's leading them. We got a great group of guys that just work hard, believe. We got a huge game against Torrey Pines tomorrow night at home. We haven't beat them in almost 2 decades. So huge game. We got to stand up to the bully. We got to look him in the eye and say, enough is enough. The streak is ending. And that's what we're going to try to do. And we got to do it. Tough challenge, but we're up for it, and I know we got the right guys to do it.
I got bad news for you, Torrey Pines. It's happening tomorrow night. You lose.
All those good vibes, you fans, you just channel them to the Broncos tomorrow night. We're going to need it.
You're the man. Good luck tomorrow night. We'll talk again next week. Always appreciate you, my friend.
You got it, bro. Love you. Go Utes!
Eric Weddle. That's our guy. Utah football legend, NFL veteran, and, of course, head coach of the Rancho Bernardo Broncos. Every one of you should be sending vicious hate towards the Torrey Pines Falcons for tomorrow night. Rancho Bernardo 2-0. Torrey Pines 2-0.
Falcons are a dumb bird anyway. Come on.
What do you mean Falcons are a dumb bird?
I'm trying to stir it up a little bit.
I like that.
In case anyone from Torrey Pines is listening in.
Falcons are an unintelligent bird. Of all the birds of prey, they are the dumbest.
Why don't you just be a dinosaur like your ancestors?
Well, no, that'd be cool. I'm telling you people, there are not enough dinosaur-based mascots in sports. In fact, there's not enough prehistoric life mascots in sports, which is why Utah Mammoth is the sickest we got going.
Buffalo Sabres too. Like the hockey's got it.
Well,
got
Sabres,
two of them
it's
now.
not. Saber, they're
I thought
like
they
a
were
sword.
oh no, I thought they were saber-tooth tigers.
No, it's actually the Nashville Predators have a saber-tooth tiger.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, the Buffalo Sabres, it's like this sword.
Buffalo, lame.
Yeah.
Nashville though.
The
Yeah.
Buffalo thing is so confusing, all right? Because
I thought because
the Bills have a bison,
yeah,
and also the Buffalo Sabres have a logo that's a bison.
yeah, with the city, but then it's just swords. Okay.
Yeah, but a saber in this case is
Come on now.
it's not a saber-tooth tiger.
I didn't realize that. I thought like frozen tundra, buffalo. They're going off of like we had some saber tooths up here.
And I assume like when I don't know the Mayflower landed, maybe there were bison ranging that far into the Northeast. I doubt it though. Like, have they ever had buffalo there?
I think I think the city's named after Buffalo Bill, the Wild West show guy.
Which is why the Buffalo Bills make sense. But why is there a bison involved with the branding?
Just the name, I guess.
Why isn't it
the
Buffalo
name of
Bill?
City,
why wouldn't you just have it be like a cowboy? Because Buffalo Bill was a cowboy who ran a Wild West show.
Or Annie Oakley.
Annie Oakley. Why not have
Get Your Gun?
Why not have Annie Oakley?
Or Sitting Bull. Is that the chief that's part of that show, that play too?
Not the direction I expected us to take.
Maybe not Sitting Bull.
All right, we got to take a quick one here. Big thanks to Eric Weddle for joining us. That will be up on the website soon. You can also find anything you missed on the Sean O'Connell Show at the ESPN 700 Sports app. And if you didn't watch us interviewing Devin Dampier, that is up on YouTube. I've retweeted it at Real OC Sports. Another reminder, by the way, that we have tickets to give away to the Utah Greek Festival in our topical trivia today. Starts tomorrow, goes through the 7th, Salt Lake City GreekFestival.com for information on food, entertainment, and all the options at the Salt Lake City Greek Festival. That's Salt Lake City GreekFestival.com, giving away tickets in 25 minutes or so.
I believe Spence is going to be live tomorrow at the opening day of the Greek Festival as well. So go say hi to Spence. Get some. We'll make sure Spence gets a baklava shake.
And we're going to be at Smith's on 9th and 9th tomorrow for the show. So come out, say hello. I'll have some sort of thing to give away.
Get your tailgating stuff.
Get your tailgate stuff.
And then go to the Greek Festival, get some great Greek food, and say hi to Spence.
We got the official email from the Big 12 Conference ahead of NFL season opening tonight. All of the NFL players that used to be at a Big 12 school. So we'll go through the schools and the numbers of players on NFL rosters next on the Sean O'Connell Show. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right. A lot of James Peterson bonus points at stake right now as we quiz the producer and program director here at ESPN 700 on NFL player representation amongst Big 12 schools.
I'm going to get all of these right.
Okay.
I just know.
James Peterson,
We have a caller that thinks they can.
Oh, answer that.
They can. Let's see if they can answer some of these. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see who this caller is. We'll let James handle the caller. The Big 12 handed out or sent out, I should say, the official tally of NFL players who are representatives of Big 12 institutions. And you might be surprised by who leads, who's got the largest number of players on NFL rosters. They included practice squad guys in this list. You might also be surprised by which school is like not well represented in the NFL. The official tally. Well, you know what? I'll wait until James is ready. I don't know what this caller is calling in about, but the official tally of the total numbers: 272 Big 12 players in the NFL right now. Whether you are active roster or injured reserve or practice squad, they have it. They have, there's always a little asterisk next to these names. Now, the Big 12 gets the honor of claiming probably the biggest star in NFL football right now as a member of one of their institutions. Of course, Patrick Mahomes, who I don't know. I don't think he's the number one jersey seller anymore, but he is the most decorated player in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes, of course, was a member of that Texas Tech roster and still claims Texas Tech doesn't do the thing where he talks about his little league team when he's doing Monday Night Football introductions.
Had just a really nice color. He had to get going, but I don't know if you have any insight on this. It is strange that Utah is going to Laramie. We've talked about this. Do you have any insight as to why? I told him I'm not sure. I don't know if there had to be some kind of reason that Mark Harlan and Kyle Whittingham felt like they had to schedule this game right here because there's no way you go to Laramie just because you want to go to Laramie.
Yeah, I don't know the exact details on the why. I mean, Utah's had a couple of these games, like they did the Northern Illinois game a few years back.
Yeah, traveling
at Northern
to
Illinois.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like
that one was a home and home. There was an exchange there. This one's not. There had to have been some kind of financial or maybe it goes back to things getting derailed from the COVID season.
I think this was something. My memory, the lizard brain inside my head is telling me that it has something to do with COVID. Like it was a COVID reschedule or something like that.
They were going to play in 2020 maybe and had to move it to this year. I don't know.
It's a good question, and it's a question worth asking. If Wyoming was a better team this year, I would be like, oh, they're bad. Wyoming's going to be bad. And the trip sucks, but one of the things
winnable game every time you schedule it. Yeah.
Even when Wyoming's good, it's a winnable game. Now there's really nothing to gain from that road trip. So it's a point well made by whoever called and by all the other people who've texted about it and just be like, why are we doing this? Sometimes you get these quirks of scheduling that don't make as much sense. And the unfortunate reality in college football, and of course this is like a broad strokes point because I don't have the specifics, is like you do have to do some things you don't want to do. There's not always the perfect scenario where you get the games that you want in the place that you want in the year that you want when your team is good or whatever. Because especially pre-COVID, so many of these things were scheduled 10 years or 9 years or 7 years before the games were played. Non-conference scheduling is an absolute mess. So beyond that, I don't know. I have a good answer for you. In fact, I'll try to find out the real right answer.
Yeah,
okay?
let's do that because we have been getting a good number of curious listeners. They've been building up here, so I think we ought to try to get the answer there for you. But yeah, I would assume it's some kind of financial thing or some kind of reschedule that just had to happen.
Okay, now James, Big 12 NFL player representation.
Yes.
Which school in the Big 12 has the fewest players on NFL rosters to start the 2025 season.
UCF.
It's a decent guess, but it's incorrect.
Cincinnati.
Also incorrect.
Oh.
Hold on, I got to find the number. Cincinnati has 20 players.
Yeah, I guess Cincinnati. I mean, Travis Kelce went to Cincinnati. So.
UCF has 13.
And Jason was Cincinnati too. He's not in the NFL anymore. But yeah.
Travis Kelce, the most famous. They've got some good players from the Cincinnati world.
They were a BCS back when we were calling, instead of power conferences, Power 4, Power 5, we were calling it BCS conference. Like, they were a Big East team for a long time.
Yeah.
So they probably produced quite a bit of talent.
I mean,
in those years.
Travis Kelce, Sauce Gardner.
Yeah. And in those, Sauce Gardner might have been on that playoff team.
Ivan Pace Jr. They got some good players.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Arizona.
See, Arizona's got 11, and Arizona is notoriously
not that many. Yeah.
Yeah, and not great. So I think Arizona looks like second fewest. It's Kansas who's second fewest.
Kansas had 10.
Yeah, Kansas had 10. Who has 9?
Oh my gosh.
This one's a surprise.
It's not Colorado?
Arizona State.
Arizona State.
Arizona State has 9 players from their former roster in the NFL. Brandon Ayuk, who starts the season for the Niners on the IR. DJ Davidson of the Giants. Christopher Edmonds he's in the Browns practice squad. Mitchell Fraboni, you don't know who that is. He's a Broncos tight end.
That's a nope.
Jack Jones plays for the Dolphins. He was a really good corner when he was at Arizona State. Chase Lucas, same thing. He's with the 49ers. Cam Scadaboo, of course, is on the Giants roster. Xavier Valladay, who was, I think, a transfer to Arizona State, if I'm not mistaken.
But
he's on the practice
entered the
squad.
NFL from ASU, so
and Rashad White. So, like, there's actually a decent – like, Brandon Ayuk's a good player.
Yeah.
I think Cam Scadaboo's a good player. Jack Jones and Chase Lucas are starters. Rashad White is a starter. Like, they got high quality, low quantity.
Yeah.
Which school has the highest number of representatives on NFL rosters?
Okay. Let's see. Is it Iowa State?
It is not.
Okay. TCU.
It is TCU.
Okay.
Correct. TCU's got 31
ding,
players.
Ding. I need to get a bell sound effect for this.
31 players on either active rosters or practice squads that used to wear the Horned Frogs uniforms.
So far I've gotten. Well, no, I didn't end up guessing ASU eventually. Never mind. I was gonna joke that I've gotten both right because you didn't. There's no limit on number of guesses.
Do you know who number 2 is?
Number 2, Utah.
Correct.
Ha ha!
28 players starting the season with an NFL uniform. Now,
I have no idea why I guessed Iowa State as my first guess. I guess Brock Purdy popped into my head, but Iowa State's probably not close to the top, are they?
They've got 20.
Okay.
They're kind of
okay. That makes me feel
okay.
better.
Iowa State's got 20. Oklahoma State's got 21. Utah is number 2 with 28. So, yeah, I guess that puts Iowa State at like number 4.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel better about that, though.
Not bad. They're tied with Cincinnati for number 4.
All right.
So, yeah, it's, let's see, Arizona 11, Arizona State 9. Baylor has 16 players. BYU's got 17. UCF has 13. Cincinnati's got 20. Colorado's got 14. Houston has 15. Iowa State, I already told you, has 20. Kansas State has 10 players on NFL rosters. Kansas has 10. Kansas State has 18.
Oh, Kansas State has 18. Okay. I was going to say the Kansas schools are tied.
Kansas has 10. Kansas State has 18. Oklahoma State 21. Texas Tech 14. TCU 31. West Virginia 15. Utah 28. Now, 11 of Utah's 28 are practice squad guys.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
So Cody Barton, Cole Bishop, Julian Blackman, Garrett Bowles, Jonah Ellis, Lecky Fotu, Matt Gay, Jalen Johnson, Dalton Kincaid, Devin Lloyd, Connor O'Toole, Tim Patrick, Clark Phillips, Karene Reed, Jr. Oh, no, not Jr. Sione Vaki, Devon Vele are active roster guys. And then Miles Battle, Terrell Burgess, Britton Covey, Braden Daniels, Tyler Huntley, Satoa Laumea, Caleb Lohner, Nephi Sewell, Junior Tafuna, Zamaya Vaughn, and Thomas Yasmin are all practice squad guys.
Thomas Yasmin is a practice squad.
Dude, he's on the
Good for
Chargers.
him.
He's on the Chargers practice squad.
He started playing football 7 years ago. He's a practice squad guy for however many years. Was it 2023 his final season, his third year? That good for him.
Pretty awesome. Our guy Mitch Wisnowski's out with the 49ers. They were paying him too much.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get picked up by anybody.
Same.
Britton Covey is back with the Eagles, right?
Correct. He's on the Eagles practice squad.
Oh, he's a practice squad guy. Okay.
Yep. He's on the practice squad.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get called up to be a return guy.
Yeah, there's going to be some
soon.
point.
Yeah.
Terrell Burgess, I think, will be.
He'll probably get a call up. He was a contributor, I don't think a starter, but a contributor on that Super Bowl team that Weddle played on with the Rams.
Chase Hansen no longer in the NFL ranks.
Chase, I mean, we saw he came in studio a couple of times. I think he's studying abroad, finishing his postgraduate education across the pond. So he seems to have moved on. And Zach Moss, of course, recently cut, and we'll see if he's able to make a comeback.
So 28 players from Utah. For those who are curious, BYU has 17, as I mentioned.
Another one
4,
that's
5 of those are injured reserve guys.
Okay.
Only one, Keaton Slovis, is a practice squad guy. So 16 players that are IR or active roster. Only one practice squad player from BYU.
The efficiency is very high with BYU alums in the NFL. Also, not near as low. They're more in the middle of the conference, it sounds like, based on that list you rattled off there. But I think it's fair to say lower quantity, definitely high quality as far as the BYU players in the NFL.
Tyler Algier is a really good player.
He's going to stick around for a long time, you'd think.
Puka Nacua is one of the best at his position in the league right now.
A bona fide star in the NFL.
Kingsley, we're going to see what he ends up being for the Chiefs, but I think he's a good player. And then you've got Kyle Van Noy, who's one of the best veterans in the league. And
could end up being a Hall of Famer, Kyle Van Noy. And
you got Fred Warner, who is the best linebacker in the NFL.
Feels like, no doubt, Hall of Famer.
That's a high-quality representation for BYU.
Oh, and by the way, said only one of their alums on the practice squad.
Yeah. And it's Keaton Slovis, who I don't really associate
barely
Keaton
played
Slovis
there.
with BYU.
He barely played there, and he wasn't very good when he played there.
Taysom Hill he's starting the season on the IR, but he's a hell of a player.
Been in that super utility role for a long time for the Saints.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff. And it's good to see. There was a time, right? There was the Croton era, and even a good chunk of Broncos time, and those were good teams. Bronco was winning a lot of games.
Yeah, he won winning teams basically every year he was down there.
There was a dearth of NFL talent coming out of BYU for a decade plus, and it made very little sense. But that's back on the uptick, much to the chagrin of some Utah fans, but it's really good to see locals in the NFL, and it's good to see guys. I say it every time. This is the dream. When you're a football player and you're 11 years old, you're watching these games with people in Cowboys and Niners and Eagles and Seahawks uniforms and saying, that'll be me someday. And these guys, that's them. Even if you're just on the practice squad, that's a win, man. That's unbelievable.
I mean, Trevor Riley, didn't he say the year that they won the Super Bowl with the Pats, he was a practice squad guy. Still got the ring. They called him up for. I think he said they let as many practice squad be part of the Super Bowl roster anyway. He was called up for the Super Bowl to be on the roster. He's got a ring. That's cool being part of the team, even if you're practice squad.
All right, last break. We'll give away a family 4-pack to the Greek Festival next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Utah Greek Festival is happening this weekend at the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral, September 5th through the 7th. Greek food, entertainment, much more. Salt Lake City GreekFestival.com. Family 4-pack. If you could tell me who led the NFL in sacks last year as the NFL season kicks off tonight. Who led the NFL in sacks? 877-353-0700. We get you ready for the drive with Spence Checketts for the next 4 hours. Hey, Spence.
I will be at the Greek Festival on Friday, and you know what I'm excited about?
Baklava shakes.
Oh, stop it, man. Even when you say it, it gets me excited.
You know, I had one 2 days ago.
That a boy.
It was my birthday, and nobody
Your
here
birthday was
acknowledged it.
Well, I didn't know.
Nobody gave me any gifts. That's actually not true. Alonzo brought me a pretty cool gift. No,
How about a little heads up, man? I would have brought balloons.
Do you tell people when your birthday's coming?
I do not.
Exactly.
As you age more,
It doesn't matter.
it matters not at all.
Yeah.
Like my 50th is coming up. Not this year. I still got 3 years. And, you know, my family's already like, what do you want to do? I'm like, nothing. I want to do nothing.
Yeah.
I want to have maybe
not
dinner.
be reminded that I'm 50 years old.
Yeah, I just want to have dinner, and I want to be left alone is what I want to do for my birthday. So, no, I do not publicize it, but you should have let us know so we could at least acknowledge it on air.
I'm joking. I don't care.
Are you
It was
45?
fine. 2.
You're 42. You're a kid.
I'm 42.
You're still
I've
young,
aged
man.
very poorly.
No, you're doing all right. You're a spring chicken. I always forget how much younger you are than I am.
Yeah, 42 years old.
And to be clear, I'm 47. I'm not that close to 50.
September 2nd, 1983.
A day that will live
In
infamy.
infamy. Yes.
Good shows this week, man. It's been fun to listen to you. You're in your groove. You are in your spot. You're in your comfort zone. It's been fun to listen to you break it down.
It's really just a great time of year, and it's been great to speculate and prognosticate and in some ways hope for.
Mm-hmm.
What you saw, one game sample size is only that, but clearly this is a Utah team with potential to get back to where we expect Utah football to be. Let
me ask you this. I've heard you touch on it a little bit throughout the week, but what does Ron McBride mean to Utah football as he goes into the Ring of Honor on Saturday?
Man, we're going to spend a lot of time on the show tomorrow talking about this because it's impossible to do it justice. I probably get a little emotional about it because he's the guy who made it so I got to be a college football player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I was on the team at Utah, but I didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
I was a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not that I was among the best dozen or 25 players on that Weber State team either, but like he had expectations and you tried to live up to them. To answer your question, Utah football, like the Urban Meyer thing probably doesn't happen. And then the Kyle Whittingham staying here for 3 decades as a coordinator and then, of course, 2 decades as a head coach probably doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Utah football is not recognizable as the product it is today.
Yeah.
If Ron McBride doesn't put the train back on the tracks when he shows up.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like it just – I'm glad that he's getting inducted to the Ring of Honor while he's around, while we can all show him the appreciation that he deserves. And I will say this. He was an awesome football coach who helped start this rise that Utah football is hopefully still on. But he also came from an era where it was like deep in the core of his being that you were not just a coach whose job it was to win and maximize earnings for your school,
Mm-hmm.
but to develop young men and to care about their lives and to help them get educated. And in so many cases, to bring guys out of poverty, out of bad situations, and change the next however many generations of their families' lives.
Yeah.
He took that very seriously and still does, honestly. But that's something that I think is kind of lost in the college football world now because it's just a big business.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing it at a time where that mattered in a lot of places, and it mattered like deep, deep, deep in his heart. So that matters to me.
Do you know, and I'll look this up, is this a halftime thing or is it a before the game thing?
I think it's a before the game thing.
Okay, so let's try to get in our – we're not great at this here in our state, whether it's Utah, BYU, the Jazz, RSL. Let's try to get in our seats on time and early. Let's give Coach Mack the the love and attention he deserves on this day.
And you know what? We'll also spend some time tomorrow when we'll do our best to educate about Roy Jefferson, who's also going in and being inducted in the Ring of Honor. It's a larger bridge to try to get to, his contributions to the program. The modern fan doesn't really know, so we'll do our best to at least educate a little bit.
Yeah, and I've said this before. And I was a student at the U when Mac was the coach, and so it was kind of fun to be there during the beginning of the Renaissance, and where we find ourselves 25, 26 years later. Coach Mac laid the foundation. Urban built the house. Kyle finished the estate, right? But to your point, without the foundation, none of it probably looks the way it does now.
And Morgan Scalley's going to buy the damn yacht.
Let's hope so. That should be the next step, or maybe a private plane. Who knows? the estate's in pretty good shape, Sean.
Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts. Thanks for everyone who listened to the Sean O'Connell Show today. We'll do it again tomorrow on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.